This is the Unspoken Podcast on the Undetermined Podcast Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, the sports world is a major circus. Welcome to the latest edition of the Unspoken Podcast. There's so much going on. It's like I don't know how to feel about everything. There's controversies and hot topics left and right. It's a bonanza.
It is a bonanza of... It's a bonanza that contains multitudes of horribleness.
It's crazy. I don't know what's going on in this world, and I guess when you throw Trump into the sports political world, you have a problem and craziness.
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm Tom Albano, along with Nick Federa and Nick Morrison. Oh, guys, what a week it's been. I mean, we were recording episode 37 last Friday. I don't think anybody expected the magnitude of the next 7 days of sports, and it's like, well, shit.
Yeah. If you froze me in carbonite right after we finished recording the show on last Friday, and you didn't unfreeze me until about 15 minutes ago, and then told me everything that happened, I would have shaken you in rage and then punched the clock.
That reminds me, I was actually thinking of something. I forget which topic it was that made me, think of this. It was probably the NFL, but it's like, oh, if you just came back from like being chronologically frozen, it's like, oh, hello, welcome to the future. Please go be frozen again.
This is crazy.
Can you put me back into the deep freeze, please?
Or if it's possible, you can try to do reverse time and, go back to like freaking 1998 or something.
All right, Back to the Future. Leave it for the next segment. I mean, but basically, the way that this last week is gone, and I don't know what to tell you. The whole Donald Trump thing, and now working at WABC, where I'm a board operator and a call screener. I was in the newsroom and working the past few nights, and I saw this major hit that we'll get to in a few minutes. But the whole thing with Donald Trump and his statement that basically he's calling players son of a bitches, which he kind of needs to be careful with that because he might fall under that category possibly. So, and now,
possibly?
Well, yeah, but now that the NFL players have said, well, you're going to call us son of a bitches? Well, we're going to lock our hands in unity and we're going to take a knee, which I think is the worst possible thing I've ever heard. It's not take a knee. It should be kneeling. I don't care if it's a freaking hashtag or not. It's kneeling. It's not take a knee. It's kneeling. I don't give a shit.
Twitter.
I don't give a shit. Wow, see, I almost said it wrong. Kneeling. It's kneeling. I don't care what people say.
The power of social media.
I don't give a shit.
Well, for those of you who have slept under a rock or were frozen in time, again, I say, welcome back. Please go back to where you were.
Yes, please. It's much nicer up there.
So, the day after we finished recording, we uploaded Unspoken Podcast episode 37. Our lovable president has decided to tweet something out, and it was something along the lines of calling players SOBs and telling owners if any of their players took a knee, they should be fired. And that set the owners off because the owners basically went, "Who are you to tell us how to run our business?" And then widespread protests in week 3.
See, there's a maxim that I always like to employ in times like this. If you run into an asshole once or twice a day, the other guy's an asshole. But if you run into assholes 24/7, all day, every day, you are the asshole. And in order to make Roger Goodell, in order to cede to him the moral high ground, to Roger Goodell, there is something wrong here.
And you can throw in a couple of NFL owners in there, too. I don't know, Robert Kraft, Jerry Jones.
Because he's friends with those owners.
Right. And no, I'm saying he managed to turn his friends against himself.
Yeah, and of course they were airing Unity ads, and because never put it past the NFL to put a burning social issue into a convenient, nice little tidy branding opportunity.
Can I read you some tweets? Because now I'm looking at Donald Trump's tweets, and this is from some of the ridiculous tweets he made about the NFL.
Okay, sure.
So these are from September 26th. Here are 2 tweets. Ratings for NFL football are way down, except before the game starts, when people tune in to see whether or not our country will be disrespected. Well, let me say something about that one first. If it wasn't for you making your shitty comment, maybe that the anthems wouldn't be destroyed. Okay? And then number 2, the booing at the NFL game last night when the entire Dallas team dropped to its knees was loudest I have ever heard. Great anger. And like you said, Tom, that's his friend, for crying out loud.
The man only understands anger. Literally, he is like a masturbating chimp with a brain injury. It is. All I can do is just jerk off, but I'm so angry.
I'm gonna go take a walk.
Oh, Tom has left the building.
And you guys know my political affiliations. You guys know that I am the bleedingest of bleeding hearts, and I have absolutely 100% sympathy for the anthem protest. I completely support it, although I don't necessarily agree with kneeling for the anthem. I absolutely support their right to say it, because as a studying journalist, I'm really big on First Amendment rights. I'm really big on free speech. And you know what? They want to protest. That's their goddamned American right.
And it's interesting you brought that up, because here's 2 other tweets that I find interesting that came out of his mouth. So,
not out of his mouth, out of his
well, you know what I mean. But Roger Goodell of the NFL just put out a statement trying to justify the total disrespect of certain players to show to our country. Tell them to stand. And the other one, if NFL fans refuse to go to games until players stop disrespecting our flag and country, you will see the change take place first. Fire or suspend.
Again, it's telling the NFL owners how to run their team, which you don't do. And frankly, these NFL teams can't afford. I'll give you an example. Let's say if before the unity message started, let's say Todd Gurley of the Rams was taking a knee, and the Rams owners didn't like that. I'm just using this as an example. Just using it as an example. So let's say that happened, and let's say the Rams owners somehow listened to the president and suspended Gurley indefinitely. Well, that just worsens your team and worsens your public image. So what the hell is that going to do?
Yeah, what are they going to do? They depend on these players. They need to have them around. But I feel like people, especially the amount of takes that have been spewing out of the volcano this week, I think they're so wrapped up in the how and the what of what these players are engaging in, and not focusing on the why. Nobody's talking about, hey, why are they doing this? Maybe we should talk about that. Maybe we should have a conversation about racial injustice in this country, because it's there. And the longer we talk about semantics and kneeling for a piece of cloth, it really is going to distract from the larger conversation that athletes are trying to engage in.
I think we're also missing 2 other issues that people were ignoring. They're only talking about the NFL, but let's talk about 2 other things. So, actually, the first one with the NFL. The Steelers staying in the locker room during the national anthem. I thought that was quite interesting. And, who's the head coach again?
Mike Tomlin.
Okay. And Mike Tomlin apparently tricked most of the players to stay in the locker room. And I think one player, was that Villanueva? The guy
Alejandro Villanueva.
Who's from the military family. So he kind of stood in the hallway, basically.
It's actually quite interesting, because you're talking about Nick staying in the locker room. And Nick Federa and I, we are in a sports media relations class, and we discovered that the reason players now come out for the anthem is because of an NFL sponsorship with
the Department of Defense.
Yeah, basically the Department of Defense said, hey, we'll give you all this money, but you need to have, the whole ceremony with the flag extended and everything, and you need all the players on the field.
Well, it's not players' money. It's NFL money.
Right. No, I'm saying that.
It doesn't make it right.
No, but I'm saying, for a second, you made it sound like it was the players getting sponsorship.
No. It's the NFL getting sponsorship.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
But basically, since then, all the players have had to come out of the locker room because before that, from my understanding, they stayed in the locker room.
Yeah, and it is the ultimate. It is indulging in the ultimate of fake patriotism, where you're worshiping the flag and you have no idea what it's supposed to stand for. And believe I'm from a military family. My grandfather served in World War II. So believe me, I have love for my country, but I have love for my country in perspective.
No, that makes sense. But what I was going to say, like I said, the Steelers, I think that was really ridiculous. I don't know if there really should be a sponsorship tied with whatever you want to say, Navy, Army, military, whatever. But
still, you can't help that maybe Goodell put it on himself a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. Now, the other rock rolling down the hill also, which a lot of people are not making a big deal of, is Steph Curry and LeBron James going on Twitter and basically saying, hey, you know what? I don't like you, so I'm not coming to the White House. And we already knew 80% of the Warriors were not coming to the White House. So
yeah, that wasn't like news to me or anything.
Yeah, but I think that was kind of ridiculous that he came out on Twitter. And first of all, LeBron James needs to shut his fucking mouth because I'm sick of hearing it on Twitter because he thinks he's the all-power mighty God. And
he kind of is, though.
Well, the Cleveland Cavaliers are the almighty powerful gods. Why? We'll get to that later.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
But I think that LeBron James thinks he's God and whatever he says is gospel, which is not true, by the way. And the whole Steph Curry thing, I understand you want respectfully decline the invitation. Okay, I get it. But he took it a little too far.
Well, you know what? That's his right. That's his right. That's his First Amendment right. He can criticize the office of the president, and the office of the president cannot do a damn thing.
No, I have no problem with him not liking him or whatever, but you don't have to make a full-fledged story out of it so you get publicity out of it. I hate when people do that.
So it seems to me like you're taking more of an offense to the fact that he did it over Twitter?
Basically, because why else would you do it on there? To get attention.
Because keyboard warriors, in other words.
Yes. And look at this freaking sponsorship they got on the freaking jerseys, for crying out loud. They got $20 fucking million to put a patch like 5x5. And if you heard it the other day, they're now taking some of that $20 million sponsorship and paying off the city for the parades that they estimated the damages or whatever for it.
The parade in Oakland, or
yeah.
Oh.
The city put an estimated amount of debt for what they had to fix, and they said, "Oh, we just got $20 million in sponsorship. We'll pay the city and fix it."
See, that's the thing, and this is that I think cuts to the heart of what we're dealing with here. I mean, these owners. If you think these owners for one second give a shit about the issues, they don't.
They don't.
It's not about black or white. The only color that matters to them is green.
It's well said.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Whatever keeps their players contented and working for them, they will do.
I agree.
You know, with Jerry Jones, notice how when they locked arms and kneeled, notice how they did it before the anthem. So they can take a stand, but they can't take too much of a stand.
And what about Lewis, for crying out loud? That was a little ridiculous.
Oh, Ray Lewis? Oh.
Getting down after being on one side and now jumping to the other side and kneeling with the Ravens.
Well, why haven't you noticed that man has gone on? He has boarded the short bus to Crazy Town a long time ago.
Well, he jumps sides. He jumps sides constantly. That's why I don't like him.
Well, yeah, I also don't like him because, well,
Well, I know why, and I'm sick of hearing that. I understand you don't like him, but that's kind of gone now.
But he's crazy. Why are people not realizing that? It's the same kind of crazy that's infected Charles Barkley.
Well, Charles Barkley's just an idiot.
Well, Charles Barkley's talent was also stolen by the Monstars in Space Jam.
What you say, knucklehead?
Of course, they stole talent from Muggsy Bogues, which is the only reason I know who Muggsy Bogues is because of Space Jam. So,
do you want to go back to Moron Mountain?
No.
All right, but let me talk real here. Let's go back to. I want to go back to Nick's thing about, because I think this is something Nick and I talked about on Tuesday after our classes. Do we think maybe either some of these players, these owners, or hell, even the fans in particular, have we lost meaning as to why the knee is taken? Because it seems like over this past week, the knee has become more anti-Trump and unity than it is, as you said, Nick, what it actually was meant for.
It's supposed to be.
Right. Here's my whole thing on the stand or knee argument. And this is kind of a hard situation for me because I am from a family and of a community who is split. I have family and friends who are on the left side, and who are on Neil's side, the protest against the NFL side, and I have friends and family on the right side. And here's my thing: that the left said they were protesting because of the whole shit that was going on originally. Because then our professor, wasn't he protesting, Nick?
Yes, he.
But now
yeah, context is necessary. Our professor, Richard L. Gant, he's a very successful man. Runs his own sports PR firm, and he's a black man, and he's very, very successful. And he said that, I can't, in good conscience, watch the NFL this season because of the whole Kaepernick thing.
But he's not playing.
But now, wait, you have people on the right who are saying now, I'm not watching the NFL, and these bars and restaurants who are protesting because of the whole, we're supporting the kneeling and stuff. So
Wait a minute. So if he's not watching because of Colin Kaepernick, then he shouldn't watch because of the kneeling.
No, he's not watching because of the fact that Colin Kaepernick can't get a job.
What? How about just that Colin Kaepernick is an awful football player and he can't play?
Look, the way he laid it out, it made sense. I mean, that's his personal opinion. I mean, I wish I could not, extricate myself from having to watch the NFL. You know what? It might actually be easier this year because the Giants are terrible. That's neither here nor there.
I was going to say, that's the thing I'm protesting in the NFL is the Giants play. Fucking pathetic.
Yeah. It's a protest against the NFL and common decency of football to watch the Giants play.
Well, how about just protesting all of New York football because it stinks? But the Jets somehow got a win after last week when I was speaking to my family and friends and said, as long as the Dolphins don't get lackadaisical, they won't lose. And they got lackadaisical and lost.
And I'm eating crow this week. Because I said Jets were going 0-16. Of course.
It's your fault.
Of course Jay Cutler has to blow it.
Yeah, and the sick part is they get a touchdown as they're hitting 000s in the fourth quarter.
But let me go back to my thing because
yeah. Go ahead.
A little more serious than that. But it's like, here's my thing. It's like, first of all, the Villanueva thing. There are people who are like, who are respecting him, but then I see people who are. I read this one comment and it just sickened me. It's like, oh, how many innocent people did he kill when he was over in the Middle East? It's like, honestly, fuck you. And those of you who are like angry at him for standing and like supposedly he had to make an apology to all those people, how fucking dare you? All right, that man served. That man did something that I probably wouldn't do unless forced. I bet millions of Americans wouldn't do unless forced. And yet this man went overseas, was part of a war, he did his tour, did his time, and now he's out there. And if he wants to stand, let him fucking stand and salute the flag. But I understand also the kneeling aspect and the aspect of, free speech. Because not NFL-wise, this is a legal issue. This is actually also a journalistic legal issue, because Nick and I are also in a journalism legalities and ethics class. The Supreme Court ruled that, the burning of the flag, and a lot of people are against burning the flag as a sign of, protests. I, for one, don't like it myself, but the Supreme Court ruled that it is, a First Amendment thing. It's like, if that is a First Amendment protected thing, I'm sure kneeling during the national anthem.
And it's a peaceful protest, but you know what? We try our damnedest to stay apolitical here at the Unspoken Podcast, and we really, really, really did not feel comfortable.
I didn't want to talk about it, basically.
We didn't want to have to talk about it, or because we know we get people from both sides of the aisle, and people want sports as escapism, and even though I don't necessarily agree with that, I see where they're coming from, because honestly I feel like sports and politics have always kind of been intertwined. They just collide occasionally, but we were kind of put in a very weird situation by the events of this week. And we're just trying our best to make sense out of all of it.
Mm-hmm.
There's not much to really make sense of. I mean, it's kind of just like a political shitstorm. And when you start seeing a tornado or something, it's picking everything up and spinning it around and putting it down in different places. So basically, it's a matter of, all right, well, this thing was here, now it's over here, now we got to just figure out where it goes again.
But as I was going to go off of, there was actually a New York Times opinion piece that came out this week. I don't know if either one of you have read it. I know, Nick Federa, you heard of it, about it. Mm-hmm. It was a piece from a columnist Yeah, it was a columnist, Brett Stevens of the New York Times. It's called The Dying Art of Disagreement. And I think this is not just a sports thing. This is a whole thing in society. And it's like, I'll take some quotes from it. To say the words "I agree," whether it's agreeing to join an organization or submit to a political authority, subscribe to a religious faith, that's the basis of every community. But to say "I disagree," these are words that define individuality, give us freedom, enjoy tolerance. We disagree about racial issues, bathroom policies, healthcare laws, and of course the 45th president. But it's basically coming to a point where we have become so far off on the spectrum that we have basically refused to listen to the other side. I think I coined this a long time ago during one of our first episodes, but to me, to call ourselves Democrats and Republicans in this country, that's just, a word. Those two terms, those two parties are basically dead. It's now the Liberal Party and the Conservative Party. We have fallen to that point in the spectrum where we refuse to listen to the other side anymore, which, in my opinion, is fucking sad. I feel like there need to be people who are in the middle on things, because when you're more towards the middle on things, you are more reflective. You're more, understanding. You're more, I have my rights, but, I have what I feel. But I have to understand where you're coming from. And there was actually a big quote on that one as well. But basically, oh yeah, here it is. So quarrels should be never personal. Let's see, these quarrels are never personal, nor are they particularly political, at least in the ordinary sense of politics. Sometimes they take over the distance of decades, even centuries. Most importantly, they are never based on misunderstanding. The disagreements arise from perfect comprehension. In other words, to disagree well, you must first understand well. You have to read deeply, listen carefully, watch closely. You need to grant your adversary moral respect and give him the intellectual benefit of doubt. And basically, I didn't know if you were going to say something, Nick.
I was, actually. I'll let you finish, though.
Okay, so here's my thing. It's like, truth be told, it's one of the, if you were to force me to make, okay, you either have to stand or you have to kneel. You know what I would do? I would be doing what Aaron Rodgers and a bunch of the other Green Bay Packers players did yesterday, including Jordy Nelson, what I noticed. I would link arms, but have my hand over my heart. Because I will stand for that flag. I am from a family of, I had family members who served in the Korean War, who served in World War II, etc. But I also have family who, are police officers. My dad was a police officer for 20 years, retired in 2010. My uncle was a police officer. And basically, I can't take a knee for that anthem. I can't take a knee for that flag. That is something that, is near and dear to my heart. But I would also be, because that's not my fight. My fight is not about, like, I don't understand. Nick, you always mention about white privilege. Not more just Nick Federa. You always mention about, when we were talking opinions about this, the small times that we do, it's like, oh, but, white privilege here speaking. But it's like,
That's just your opinion.
Right. That's my opinion.
Honestly, though, I would say I would just let people protest. Let people speak their minds.
Oh, my thing was more let people, be themselves. If they want to hold something near and dear to their heart, let them.
Exactly.
But basically, like, I wouldn't be able to take the knee. I think my problem, like, I understand the whole fight. I understand the whole issues and everything. And personally, I think President Trump ran his mouth too much. Way too much. I know people, who are on the right side, and they even say that Trump ran his mouth way too much. And the only reason he probably made the, linking arms is okay thing, kneeling is not, is because probably someone in his cabinet probably told him to shut up.
Well, someone told him to shut the hell up and just stop it, or otherwise the NFL players are just going to keep doing what they do until he stops.
Well, I'll lay off the anti-Trump diatribe because I've made my feelings on that man abundantly clear to the both of you, so I won't repeat it here. It's just we just keep getting dragged into this stuff.
I know, but I mean, even in the original, thing about why Kaepernick's taking the knee, that kind of strains me a little because I come from a family of police officers who, more importantly, have done nothing wrong. And my dad is thankful that he got out when he did, because who wants to be involved in this mess?
Nobody.
And you know what? I think honestly, and I've said this to you. Colin Kaepernick can do more off the field, working with social organizations, working with Black Lives Matter, to actually do some tangible things than he can on an NFL field, because he's already said, if I get a job, I'm not going to do it anymore. Then what was the point of this?
Because he wanted publicity, and because he's in the NFL circle, that's what he was going to do.
But I know he works a lot social. Keep doing that. Believe me, I hate to use the term martyr, but he gave up his own career so we could have this conversation.
I think the thing that, irritated me the most with the Kaepernick thing was just, the police socks from years ago.
Right.
Because honestly, I'm being honest, not all cops are bad.
No, they're not. And I think that's the issue, that sometimes in our society that some people think, oh, and if we have one problem with a cop, that makes every cop bad. It's not. It's just so you have a bad incident and you just get a perception, which is not a good way of thinking.
And I know that we know that there's bad cops in the system, but unfortunately there's just, how, you can't predict which cops are bad, but the thing is, just treat everybody with fucking respect. I think that's my problem with that's my thing with the dying art of disagreement. Why can't we just fucking teach everybody to respect one another and how about we judge on character, not what our fucking beliefs are?
Because that's not really how society is.
That's exactly what it is. It's not about performative. It's not about treating people like actual human beings, but with treating these athletes as not like subhuman commies that are out to destroy the very heartland of America is just they're people just like you. They want a fair shake.
Well, that's exactly my point.
Wait a minute.
Everybody their fucking character and how they treat one another, treat them for their fucking heart. So what if they're on the right side? So what if they're on the left side?
But I think you're missing a point here that, like you said before, Tom, which is how we don't really have Democrat and Republican really anymore. It's kind of just liberal conservative.
I'm not saying that, I'm saying we should. I'm not saying,
No, I'm agreeing that we have an issue where in today's society that if you have an opinion and someone doesn't agree with you, oh my God, you're wrong. You shouldn't be allowed to do this. You're an awful person. No, that's not how it works. That's not how logic works. Everyone's allowed to have their own opinion, whether it's the president, the vice president, your local party, or anything. So it shouldn't matter. Everyone's allowed to have an opinion, black, white, red, purple, green, whatever you want to call it. And if you don't like it, too bad. Go be friends with someone else, if that's what you think. That's a
good way to put a bow on it.
I think to put a bow on this, basically, if looking at everything from the NFL to ordinary society or to anyone who has an opinion, the way you got to look at it is, I have an opinion, Tom has an opinion, Nick has an opinion, everyone has an opinion, and we need to say, all right, the three of us might be thinking three different things, but we just got to get over it. We might not agree with what everybody says, but everyone is allowed to think what they think.
Exactly.
In the words of Chris Hardwick, be nice to each other, damn it. And I will be continuing a protest, and that is a protest of watching the Giants play.
All right, now that we've talked about that, where do you want to go?
I guess we got to go to last night. Freaking poor Davante Adams.
Ouch.
Yeah, I mean, when the helmet leading with your head down and your helmet. I've had this problem forever, by the way, where if you lead helmet to helmet, I think you should be suspended, and because you know better as an NFL player not to lead with your helmet because that leads to concussions and major injuries and CTE and all this shit we're seeing. But I think he should get suspended and fined in a major way.
Context is necessary. So last night during the Thursday night football matchup between the Green Bay Packers and Chicago Bears, Davante Adams was the victim of a helmet-to-helmet hit. He was down on the field. He basically needs to be stretchered off. But fortunately, he is in the hospital. But fortunately, it seems he had movement in his arms and legs. He gave the thumbs up as he was leaving the field. Right now, he is in concussion protocol. But all signs from Packers who visited and their head coach basically say he'll be okay. He's entering the concussion protocol, but he should be fine.
Which, thank God and Sonny Jesus, because you didn't want to. Because even the pictures of that looked. I could feel myself getting a headache just looking at the pictures.
But did you see the actual hit? Because I saw it at my office last night. The other night, and basically said, "Oh my God!" when I saw that hit.
A kind of Joe Theismann, oh my God, or okay, let me bring this up because I need to see this for myself.
So now, also, what's the name of the Bears player who
Oh, Danny Trevathan.
Danny Trevathan. Okay, I didn't know how to pronounce his last name, but Danny Trevathan. It's weird. He was leading with his head. So without a doubt, not the right tackle. But now and I saw on third after the play, a multitude of people from Twitter to Facebook everywhere saying that guy needs to be suspended.
I agree.
You're fine.
Jesus H. Christ.
I guess Nick just saw the tackle.
Ow!
No kidding. But back to Tom's point though. Before I'll give you
that is CTE later in life.
I'll give you a chance, Nick, to respond in a second. But what Tom's saying with this hit and all this stuff, he should be suspended. And actually, someone just put the hit up again on Twitter. I'm looking at it. He put his head down first and then led with the helmet, which is a big no-no. And I just watched it again. His mouth guard went flying out of his
mouth.
Yeah.
That's how hard he got hit.
To me, that sounds like targeting.
But they don't have a targeting rule.
There should be one. There should be one.
Football, there should be one in the NFL.
And you know what's worse? In college football, when there's a targeting rule, you can review it. In the NFL, if someone is hit with an invasive hit, they're not allowed to review it. They have to make the call right there.
Not just that, but in college football, when they do a targeting penalty, isn't that an automatic ejection?
Not necessarily. No, they can go and review it.
Okay, but still, I feel like that.
But if it is,
I still feel like that hit was ejection worthy.
Well, this is what I was starting to say, that in the NFL, they have to make the call right there. They're not allowed to go and review it. So they have to do it in real time and right after it happens.
Yeah, I think the rule in college is if it has been determined that you are, for lack of a better term, guilty of targeting, you're thrown out of the game and you will not be reinserted into the lineup until the second half of the next game.
Right, but they can actually go to the tape and review it, though, before they officially call it targeting.
And can't the NCAA even make more, like they can extend that, like they can suspend you?
Yes, they can, actually.
So why is that not in the NFL, is my question.
That's my point, too. I agree that, first of all, let's go back to another instance that happened, I think, early in the spring with Vontaze Burfict, where he had that major hit, which wasn't as bad as this, by the way. I think this was worse. And Vontaze Burfict got a 3-game suspension. So if that's the scale, does that mean we have to give Danny Trevathan a 3-game suspension?
Well, now, because it's funny how you talk about that, because after the play had happened, everywhere on Twitter, I saw suspension worthy, suspension worthy, suspension worthy, suspension worthy.
It is.
Next day, oh, well, he doesn't have a record. He's clean. This was his first major thing.
Oh, stop it. That has nothing to do with it.
Record nothing.
Record bullshit, I would say.
No, I didn't say I'm saying. I'm saying there are people on there who are saying it.
Yeah.
You know what that is? That's typical people who go on Twitter. They make a hateful statement and they say, oh, I'm going to retract that statement and say a positive thing. That's not how it works. Either you have to take the side and say that was a hateful play and he should be suspended, or you need to say, okay, he has no record, he shouldn't be suspended. I'm on the side where that was bad to the point where he could have knocked him out for the whole season. He should be suspended.
Yeah, that was
dramatically. Look, if people come out of the woodwork when Odell Beckham Jr. mimes a dog peeing and they clutch their pearls when he does it, and yet basically turning somebody's brain into a game of bumper cars. Well, that's okay.
Here's the problem. Wait a minute. So the reason that people are looking at the OBJ issue is because the NFL in the offseason changed the rules for excessive celebrations, not making them penalties anymore. So that's the NFL's fault.
Oh, that is...
The NFL kind of brought it on itself last season when they were like no celebrating at all.
Right. So now they changed it and said, oh, wait, we need to let our players have some fun on the field, but they take it a little too far sometimes.
Oh, old white sports writers and steakhead Giants fans. They're going to ruin the greatest thing we've had in 5 years.
Well, not just that, but where's the fucking spectrum, NFL? Where is the line?
Where's the line without crossing it?
But no, the line is drawn in the sand. The problem is that a massive tidal wave came in, and now that line it's unrecognizable.
It's like that Bugs Bunny Yosemite Sam cartoon. I dare you to step across this line. I dare you to step across that line. Stepping again.
And this line.
And this line. This one. That one. 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 See? Never ends.
It's kind of like
there's the line. Here's the line. There's the line.
I have another cartoon analogy if you want to go that way.
Okay.
It's like Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck. Oh, rabbit season, duck season, rabbit season, duck season, fire!
Pretty much.
But, I don't know. I think he should get suspended. And if we're going off Davante's perfect, which, since we haven't learned from the Ray Rice situation when he got 10 games and got it all the way down to 2, and that's probably what's going to happen. He'll get 3 games. Somehow he'll appeal it.
It'll go to 1.
It'll go to 1 or 2, and then we're going to scream about that also.
Fuck Goodell sometimes, man. Fuck him.
You know what's sick, though? We gave Roger Goodell all the power when we signed the new collective bargaining agreement, but it's not working.
Yeah.
See, you say we, the fans, did not have jack shit to do with it.
You know what I mean. The players gave him the power for more negotiating of the revenue, and he's not even using it correctly because he keeps getting appealed down.
Can I be brutally honest with you guys? Based on the topic we were discussing a little while ago, plus Goodell's past with the 2014 season, the infamous 2014 season, the NFLPA, the president, what's his name?
DeMaurice Smith.
DeMaurice Smith, yeah. I might have to agree with him and say if things continue the way they are, I might see lockout.
Well, wait a minute. We're not up for lockout. I think until 2021.
Yeah, but if things are going the way that they are.
Well, oh no, it's already been reported that there's going to be a lockout probably in 2020 or 2021 because of the way that the revenue stacks up and the way that the safety is not being covered. They're going to sit out because they don't want to get hurt.
You know, we should save that clip. So if we're still doing the Unspoken Podcast, if we're still doing it by 2020 or 2021, and if that actually happens, we're going to play that. You just turned yourself into a time capsule, Nick.
Awesome.
Great. And technically, I turned myself into a time capsule as well. The only problem is sometimes I'm inaccurate. Last week with the freaking Dolphins and Jets.
We're a bunch of Nostradamuses, if Nostradamus had a stroke.
Wow.
But basically, yeah, it's like you hear these comments about how the game is, quote, this is a word I saw today on Twitter. Someone actually said this. The NFL has, quote, pussified.
By the way, if you heard that phone in the background, that's the phone calling. That's the media calling for Roger Goodell's firing.
I've been calling for his firing since 2014.
I know, so have I.
But basically, you talk about the game, not you guys, but you can talk about the game being, quote, pussified. Here's the problem with that. With the freaking discoveries about CTE and everything and the lack of player safety, it's like you kind of have to take a step back.
Well, you just had, what's his name? I can't remember. All of a sudden, who had the lawsuit? Aaron Hernandez, where he just had this ridiculous lawsuit. Now, I don't know what that basically he had CTE like from the level of like a 69 or 70-year-old man. Like he had like level 3 CTE or something.
Which I can believe.
But no wonder he was a little whacked out because he got hit so much that it turned him whack.
Well, that test supposedly that they supposedly can test, they identified the biomarker that will allow doctors to test for CTE in living patients.
I mean,
so test it without having to remove the brain.
And it's not just going to be, and it's going to be mainly NFL players, but, who's not to say that there will be, boxers with it. NHL players.
Well, it was originally a boxing. CTE event originally was something that they considered to be more of a boxing injury.
Well, yeah, because you're getting hit in the head most of the time.
Right.
Yeah, that's basically in a lot of in most of the cases where they saw it, pre-Bennett Omalu doing his autopsy stuff.
But I'm just saying though, don't limit it to just NFL. Look at the whole perspective with athletes and everything. I mean, obviously professional wrestling, you can have a debate on the sport aspect of it, but Chris Benoit, he had an 85-year-old man's brain or something by the time he ended up doing his horrible act.
Wow. That's crazy.
Football causes brain damage, folks.
No, we know. I mean,
just like podcasting.
It used to. Yeah, but basically, we thought that wrestling and UFC and all this contact sport was really the brain injuries. Now it's the NFL, and sometimes even a little bit of NHL now too.
A little bit of NHL, yeah, and also the NFL. I think so far it's worse than, or just as bad as the professional wrestling.
It is, and I don't know how much further we want to go because we have other stuff we got to get into. But basically, the way I look at this situation with Danny Trevathan and the Bears, he should be suspended. I don't know, for 3 games. It should be 3 games because you're judging off Davante's perfect situation, but who knows? He might just get a major fine and he's going to get no suspension, and then you're going to get a huge ride on social media, and then we're all going to be talking about it next week.
Right, but still, even if you want to use the clean argument thing, if you suspend him 3 games, at least he fucking learns. That, or he'll go off on the deep end and become one of these players who's just, fucking, somebody who don't respect.
I still think Davante's perfect thing was a lot less of was a lot less worse than this situation last night.
Sadly. You're listening to the Unspoken Podcast from the Undetermined Podcast Network, and we this has been a crazy sports world that we continue, and it's still a hot topic. As much as we don't cover college football, college sports in general on this podcast, college basketball including, we have to talk about something, and that is one Rick Pitino. And it appears after years and years, Rick Pitino will no longer be the head coach of Louisville.
Yes, and context is necessary, as it always is. See, he and the athletic program at Louisville was ensnared. Well, not ensnared, because that implies some kind of passivity, when it absolutely was not passive. They were implicated, let's say, that's a better word, in let's call it a recruitment scandal with the athletic company Adidas. So I'm a little bit fuzzy on the details because I don't know business and numbers are Satan to me. But the gist of it, I believe, is that Adidas funneled $100,000, I think, to the Louisville athletic program to get certain students to commit. Well,
if you want to understand some more facts, I was actually looking at this yesterday. So you're right, Nick. It has to do with $100,000. It was funneled from Adidas to actually one of the players that they got to commit to the university. It was a high school recruit. And basically, they said, hey, Adidas, give us $100,000 so we can give it to him so he'll come to our school so we can have a high recruit. Now, here's the problem that what people are not realizing is that Rick Pitino was already hooked around the throat already. Now, if people don't get that context, that means they were already under investigation for a hooking scandal with a bunch of strippers and hookers. So
yes, he used apparently the school's dime to hire prostitutes to send them to.
But here's the problem:
dorm that was named after his dead brother-in-law.
Right, but here's the problem. They found this second issue while still investigating the hooker issue.
You know what it is? Do you remember last week? You weren't privy to this, Nick, but Tom, do you remember last week when I said the thing about showmanship bad, the beige drapes bad, or the loud guitar solo on top of the flaming guitar solo on top of the screaming tiger bad? That kind of showmanship corrupt?
I believe so. Yes.
This is what this scandal is, and really college athletics in particular. It's not just run-of-the-mill corrupt. It's not cheating on your taxes corrupt. It is showmanship corrupt.
This has gotten to a point where it's like, my God, I can't believe I am actually seeing Rick Pitino, and Louisville essentially parting ways. And you know what's scary? Like, this is going on at Louisville. What's probably going on at other schools?
Well, actually, I can answer that one because so basically what's happened, I don't know if you saw the other issue that went on. There was a huge fraud and
there was an FBI investigation.
No, that was Louisville with the FBI. And at the same time, there was like 6 or 7 other colleges, high-level colleges, involved in a fraud scandal. There was like 6 or 7 assistant coaches involved.
Right, that's I think what I was referring to.
Oh, okay. And it led to a huge investigation, which led to Louisville being involved with this player and the $100,000 being involved.
Do you think this is going to lead to some kind of Paterno-style trutherism among the
He's not going to tell the truth. He's not going to tell the truth. He's already lied about the hooker scandals. Like, well, I didn't know anything about it, what was going on at the college. Well, he just did it again. I don't know that this happened. I didn't know that $100,000 from Adidas was going to a player that was coming to my school. Bullshit. You knew everything.
It's the Pitino who cried wolf.
Or he's going to become the next Pinocchio, and his nose is going to grow like 10 feet long.
Not his nose. Not his nose. His nose.
Nick just had to mute himself. You ever see the mute button, Nick? I didn't do it myself, but fuck it. You ever see the mute for that?
Oh! He's still
Nick?
Oh, God. Oh, God, that was hilarious.
Oh, my God. But save that for the best. Save that for some of the best of Unspoken Podcast. Oh, my God. That's great.
Damn. That's not where I thought it was going. I mean, I know 10-inch nose, but 10-inch... All right, I'll leave it at that.
But the reason why I made that joke is for a while, because obviously you guys were laughing your asses off, so apparently you got it.
Oh, yeah.
So, for the longest time, it's amazing to me that this is what brought Pitino down. This is because if you know anything about old Rick and his case of wandering genitals, you would say, well, he impregnated, I think, somebody who worked for him.
Allegedly, because we don't know that.
And then paid for her to have an abortion when she ended up becoming pregnant. And that wasn't enough to knock the motherfucker down.
I mean, and here's the thing. That first scandal, the hooker things, they self-imposed on themselves a postseason ban, and then the NCAA used its own, sanctions of, like, vacating wins and such. Here's the thing. So I guess now that this shit has broken out, and plus, not just the Louisville thing, but like other schools, you have to think, that this, self-imposed punishments are not going to be enough.
Just to interrupt for a second, we'll get back to this. There's some breaking news that just came over. Now, when people see this is going to be the biggest NBA contract in history. According to Adrian Wojnarowski, Russell Westbrook has agreed to a 5-year, $205 million contract extension to give him a total of 6 years, $233 million.
We will get to that. Oh, boy, won't we?
So just want to throw that out there. So now we're going to have to get to that when we're done with this.
Wait. How much is that again?
It was a 5-year, $205 million contract extension on top of another year he already has. So it's 6 years, $233 million.
That is money.
It's it's the biggest contract in NBA history.
What did you say for there?
Thank you, Mr. Register.
But back to this issue. I know I interrupted, but with the Rick Pitino situation, as I said, he's already been hooked around the throat. So now that these two investigations are out, now he is fired. People think, oh, they're waiting 10 days because that's the deal. He has to technically wait 10 days until he can be fired. But he's essentially fired. He's gone.
Unofficially fired.
Yes.
Officially fired. You're not. I'm not kicking you out of my office. I just want to make sure the door doesn't hit you in the ass on the way out.
You know what the sad part is? That he's on unpaid leave, but the AD. Now, here's what I don't get. The school asked the AD to fire Rick Pitino. And you know what his answer was?
No.
The answer was, no, I'm not going to fire him. Well, guess what? You're on paid leave now.
And he's going to get fired, too. I guarantee you he's
But why is he on paid leave, but Pitino's on unpaid leave? I don't get the difference. Like, I know what they are, but I'm saying they should be the same thing.
You would think so, but look, if you believe for 1 second that this is completely, focused on Louisville, that Louisville was the only college that was engaging in this, you're a fool.
No, like I said, imagine what's going on at other schools. And I'm not talking about just the big schools. I'm talking everywhere, from the Division I major schools with the biggest conferences to the mid-majors to everything.
Yeah, like I tried to say before I made the dick joke. I was collegiate athletics is, I think, so much more corrupt that in terms of here's the law and then you break it. The kind of corrupt than any other major American sport.
But if you hand us some dollar, we'll be willing to throw it under the rug.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, they are the IOC of collegiate athletics. Well, collegiate athletics are the IOC of North American sports.
Right.
And let's not talk about the World Cup. That's a major corrupt organization.
But we'll get to that. We'll get to that. And
the World Cup is coming up, so we'll be getting to that next year. Yeah,
but for now, we must say fairly well to Rick Pitino. And
bye.
During the segment, I will probably put stripper music underneath or something.
Bye. Farewell. Avita, say goodbye.
Yep.
You're listening to the Unspoken Podcast, part of the Undetermined Podcast Network, and I'm not joking about that. By the time you're listening to this, I probably have put stripper music under that Rick Pitino segment.
Oh, that's going to be amazing.
Oh, no, not the porno sex.
Oh, shit.
Now let's talk about our final topic of the day. Well, it was originally going to be Dwayne Wade and the Cleveland Cavaliers and how the Cleveland Cavaliers have basically stomped their foot and left their mark in the mud of the NBA offseason. But now we also got the biggest contract in NBA history. It's money everywhere.
Well, I got some information because I'm breaking it all over the place from different people. Go check out at M&M Buzz. Check out the Undetermined Network on Twitter. Check out at the UDUP. Check us all out. We're posting news constantly. Just posted. So if you guys didn't hear it before, as I just said about a minute ago, according to Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN, Russell Westbrook has agreed to a 5-year, $205 million contract extension, giving him a 6-year, $233 million deal. And also, according to Bobby Marks, who is also former Vertical, now with ESPN, The Thunder now have $138 million in guaranteed contracts in 2018-2019, and the amounts include the player option for Paul George and Carmelo Anthony.
Okay, so you just put something in there that we haven't addressed yet.
Well, I know.
And what we must address.
Oh, wait. Can I, Nick? Can I?
Go ahead.
The Unspoken Podcast now takes a trip to the circus that is the New York Knicks.
That's right. Melo is free. He has been traded from the Knicks to the Oklahoma City Thunder for Enes Kanter, for Doug McDermott, and a
pile of shit.
Second-round pick. And basically,
We have traded Carmelo Anthony for 50 feet of crap.
Yeah, and those huge bulk packs of Trident gum. See, I think I know that Enes Kanter has a lot of trouble with in his home country of Turkey, but really, I would think he would prefer the Turkish prison.
Wait a minute.
To play for the Knicks.
That's not the only issue he has. The other issue he has is can he not punch the bench, please? Like
Punch the bench?
That's how he broke his arm, remember? Because he was on the bench and he punched a chair.
I'm gonna like this guy a lot, aren't I?
And then we have Doug Dimmadome McDermott.
But let's figure this out, okay? So as I said, Bobby Marks said $138 million in guaranteed contracts, 2018-2019 season. They have now everyone is saying Russell Westbrook has one full season to convince Paul George to stay in OKC. Do you think it happens?
Depends on how the three of them do. Melo, Westbrook, and Paul George.
Now, would you consider this a big three or a crappy three?
Big three.
This is a medium three.
That actually might be better.
This is a lukewarm three. Yeah, no. You know what it is? It's not a big three. It's not a small three. It's a 5'3" three.
But it's nothing like Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, and Draymond Green and those guys. I mean, it's nothing like them.
Yeah. But it's still good. It's still plausible. It's still credible. It's still something people like. It's number 7 on the menu.
Let's put it this way. If they get to play Golden State again and they lose, I could see like Paul George jumping ship and going to Golden State, just like Kevin Durant.
Honestly, stranger things have happened, so I am totally not discounting that. But
neither am I, and I'm not discounting that we will probably be seeing Golden State Warrior, Cleveland Cavalier finals for the next century.
I don't think Cleveland is as good as they used to be, though, to be honest.
Without Kyrie Irving?
But I think Dwayne Wade.
Yeah, but Dwayne Wade is not the same Dwayne Wade from 5-6 years ago.
It's the guy that's standing in for Dwayne Wade in the movie. It's Dwayne Wade's stunt double.
But the thing
basically, you're right.
That's fair. Okay, that's fair. But there's still some thought that maybe now that he's back with LeBron,
And he's going to start. Dwayne Wade should not be starting. And by the way, this $23 fucking million that he was going to get, and then he got a buyout of $15 million. So he's going to be making $15 million on top of the $2.4 million that he's going to be making this year. Give me a fucking break.
Well, you know what? Blame the Bulls for that.
God, I'm sick of these NBA contracts and everybody jumping ship to the fucking Golden State or Cleveland or fucking Oklahoma.
You know what? And this is the question that has been not plaguing me, but it's been on my mind for the last week since Melo's been traded. And I've been thinking a lot. Is this the move that finally casts the Knicks into the fiery depths of the inferno?
We weren't already there?
Yeah. You know what? You're right. They were pretty much there already. But now they don't even have to pretend to be a good team.
Yeah, they're already there. I think you're giving them too much credit.
I was going to say, I think they've sunk more towards the bottom. They were already in the center of the flame. They were already in, like right where the flame starts and where everything combusts. Now they have sunk lower into the ground. So now they are being full-fledged burns all over the body. And
you know what?
So we're going from sautéing to deep fat frying.
Yeah, basically.
No, we are going from deep frying to even deeper frying.
Wait a minute. So they've dug themselves such a deep hole that they've ended up on the other side of the world in China.
Hey, Stephon Marbury's there. Maybe you convince him to play for
you.
No, maybe the New York Knicks just go and be a part of the China League.
Why don't we go back and get Jerome James while we're at it?
Oh, crap. I'm getting flashbacks.
Or Eddie Curry.
Let's see how those guys do with freaking Doug Dimmadome McDermott.
You're going to be calling him that all season, aren't you, Tom?
Yeah. Yes. You know what? Yes. He's now going to be Doug Dimmadome McDermott.
You know what? He's going to be a McDimwit.
What did he do to you?
Doug McDermott. He
That's right, Doug Dimmadome McDermott.
He don't give a shit.
Oh, God.
McDermott don't give a shit.
All right, where are we here? Because I think we're starting to get a little off the tracks.
Does this mean that the Knicks are going to use the dreaded R word during the season?
What dreaded R word are you referring to?
Rebuild.
They've been rebuilding for the last 3 years. What do you mean are they using the dreaded R word?
3 years? They've been rebuilding since the start of the fucking millennium.
I'm talking about a full Sam Hinkie kind of trust the process rebuild. Not an on-the-fly rebuild. I'm talking about a total tear down.
They need such a rebuild that they need to tear everything out, including the garden, and give it a whole facelift, including the goddamn owner, who should just go to more focus on his music, which he sucks at, by the way. And we need a new owner. Or I shouldn't say we, because I'm a Net fan, even though I'm struggling too. But
the Knicks, here's the thing. The Knicks need a new owner. But regardless of that, I don't think it's so much the garden. But at this point, the Knicks are in such bad shape. They have been pretty much beaten down. They are broken. They have everything that is wrong with them. They need a fucking makeover and identity change. They essentially need to go into freaking...
Change the name, maybe. The Nick York Nudes.
No, but what's it called? They need to go into basically an NBA witness protection program.
You know what? Instead of New York Knicks, I'm going to call them the New York Nobodies.
The New York Nuns.
That too. Well, even though there's not a lot of honest people on that team.
The New York Nothings.
Whatever word you want to use for nothing or nobody or whatever.
The New York. The New York. I wish I wasn't here right now.
All right, you're taking it too far now.
I'm still in a sense of disbelief. Well, I feel a sense of relief that Carmelo is finally free because the guy deserves to win. I mean, Jesus. The guy just looked the last couple of years in New York. He just looked so beat down.
Now, if the Knicks don't lose Kristaps Porzingis, that'd be even better.
Oh, he's going to walk away at one point.
He will, probably.
And that wouldn't surprise me.
Less than nothing.
And you know what we're going to get for him? We're going to get a bag of peanuts, a $50 coupon to some fucking hardware store, probably Home Depot.
And a copy of the Sharper Image catalog from 1998.
Wow.
And, wait. And a coupon for 2 free ice creams at McDonald's when the ice cream machine is broken.
By the way, this is not an advertisement for anything you're hearing right now.
Exactly.
Right.
We don't represent the Sharper Image. They don't let me in that store anymore.
Oh, well, you wish you had a Sharper Image. Oh!
I would rather be in a Sharper Image than play for the New York Knicks.
In a Sharper Image that's actually going to 5 seconds away from being bulldozed.
Oh, shit.
I would rather be working on McDonald's never working ice cream machine than I would be a part of the New York fucking Knicks.
You know what? Since you want to go,
you'd probably like to be bathing in it.
You know what? Since you brought the reference up already, the Knicks are the version of the dollar menu right now.
Stop! He's already dead.
I'm not loving it.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Okay, where are we going here? Are we out of time or what?
We're done. We have gone so far off the track with everything that has been going on in the sports world today. Not only did the train fall off of the track, it did like 3 flips and crashed.
Oh shit!
Fucking ocean. Oh my god, that's gonna do it for this edition of the Unspoken Podcast. Go follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, @BUDUP. We're going to have a fucking hockey preview and baseball playoff preview show this weekend on Periscope, exclusively on Periscope. So please tune into that. We'll let you know on social media about the time and everything else.
Also, I am very, very proud to announce that the newest podcast from myself at the Undetermined Podcast Network, Pop Culture, will be premiering on October 15th. Woo!
So go follow, was it at Pop Culture UD?
Yes. Go follow at Pop Culture UD on Twitter, and we will be giving you lots of announcements leading up from here to there. Well, technical issues permitting, because I can't actually show you the logo that was designed because my phone is broken. So
yeah,
once I get that fixed by hopefully next week, the logo will be up. But the premiere episode will now be premiering on October 15th.
You have a permanent co-host now?
Well, we'll talk about that, but you'll see. October 15th. Stay tuned.
Also at Combat Mania UD on Facebook, Twitter, and Periscope. It's a little bit of a break from the major events because we've had quite a few major events in boxing, MMA, and wrestling in the last couple of weeks. So not much going on this weekend, but we'll still put out an episode in the coming days, and we'll still be on Twitter and everything with the latest news. So stay tuned for that. Follow the rest of the undetermined accounts, as Nick mentioned before, at Eminem Buzz, and was it at Eminem Breaking on Twitter?
Yes.
Okay, so go follow that, the main undetermined accounts. Shout out to Unknown and Unclones, Julian Wilson. He actually posted on SoundCloud the official theme song for the Unspoken Podcast. So for some reason you want to listen to our theme song, you can go on SoundCloud and check it out.
Yeah, I got to give him credit because he actually writes all the music stuff that we need.
Most of it, yeah.
So I don't know. I guess if people want to go listen to it. I saw it on Facebook the other day, and I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, I just decided to put it up. I'm like, okay, that whatever you want.
Works for us.
Now that we've gone,
it's never a bad thing as bad publicity.
That's true. Now that we've gone completely off the rails and the train has fallen on its side.
I'm Tom Albano, along with Nick Federa, Nick Morgeson. This has been the Unspoken Podcast, part of the Undetermined Podcast Network. Everybody, good night, and please be kind and love one another.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.